We are.
Okay, are we ready in the front? Perfect. Holly?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes? Okay, perfect. Well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 29th, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed. You can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining by a computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room, or has anyone registered online for public comment?
No, neither.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have called to order, so I would invite everyone in the room to please sign the guest list. If you've not yet done that, it's on the shelf to the right there, or my right, in the back. And then we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bell, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. In the absence of public comment, we do have one item that we're going to postpone, and that is item number 13. So that is a change to our agenda. Well, I'm excited this morning because we get to begin with a presentation, which is always a wonderful way to start our meetings. So we have the Nestucca, Neskowin, and Sand Lake Watershed Council 2023 annual report. And we have Dave Shively, the Executive Director of the Watershed Council, with us this morning. Dave, please come on up, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Scar, Commissioners Bell and Yamamoto. It's a pleasure to see you this morning. I have to share my screen. And it worked. That's terrific.
That is that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to give an annual report. It's been a busy year, and I wanted to fill you in on some activities and projects that the council has been involved with over the last year. Please let me know if you have any questions at any time. I'm happy to entertain those. As you are probably familiar, the mission of our council, working in partnership with private and governmental stakeholders, is to improve the environmental health of our watersheds, to benefit those who live and work within their boundaries, and the fish and wildlife that depend on them. And we take that mission very seriously, and all of our projects address that goal. The critters that we are concerned with are varied. And there's a couple of examples of these. Juvenile salmonids are always one of the core species of concern for us, especially if we're trying to recover coho on the coast. But we're always happy to see giant Pacific salamanders and other non-fishy type species in our projects. what I want to talk to you about in terms of projects that we've been involved with this last year are the Sand Lake Large Wood Habitat Enhancement Project, Proposal Rock Loop Sutton Creek Design Project in Nesquin, a Butte Creek Sunbow Drive Design Project also in Nesquin, our continuing water quality monitoring project program, and our riparian planting projects. Our Sand Lake Large Wood Habitat Enhancement Project was implemented this last summer. It had been planned originally for implementation in 2022. When I took over at the council in November, it was about 2 years ago, almost to the day, November of 2021, we had to get this project up and going, and by the time I got it out to bid, we only had one bid come in, and we found that given price escalation during the pandemic, we weren't quite able to afford that bid. And so we rebid it this year, and we're able to secure a qualified contractor at a reasonable rate. We also secured, as you'll see, some additional funding that helped us to implement the project. But we implemented large wood installations for habitat improvement on Jewel Creek, Andy Creek, and Sand Creek in the Sand Lake watershed. And the next slide here will give you a little bit more information about those installations. The installations occurred during August and September of this last summer during the in-water work period. Our funding was from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, and we secured an additional grant from the Tillamook Estuaries Partnership that helped us to complete the project. We had donations of wood from Stimson Lumber Company and also from the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians through an agreement that they have with the U.S. Forest Service. The total investment cash and in-kind contributions, which included in-kind work from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife and the U.S. Forest Service, was approximately $205,927. We did 48 placements on Jewel, Sand, and Andy Creek. That was 16 on Jewel, 7 on Sand, and 25 on Andy. The goals were to improve stream complexity, which has been shown to be one of the most important limiting factors for coho recovery on the Oregon coast, and especially in the North Coast region. That allows us to improve habitat complexity, which is a number of pools relative to riffles and other types of habitat units, reactivating side channels, enhancing alcoves, which are extensions of the channel onto the floodplain, improving sorting of spawning gravels. This will also enhance floodplain connections and increase organic material for the food web. And so we're looking forward to looking at our installations as the seasons progress and see how stable those are. We had some good press on these. It was really great to have the Tillamook Headlight Herald and Pacific City Sun out to view our projects. You might have seen those reported, those articles reported in the papers over the summer. And it was what we feel to be a highly successful project. Here's another image. I'll go back to the prior image. You have a before and after an installation here on Andy Creek. And here you can see that there is a small pool in the upper, it didn't catch up.
Sometimes it takes just a minute in the room.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll go with the one where we're at. This is on Jewel Creek. Here you can see a riffle type habitat. The placement of wood here, which we call a catcher's mitt, this is the bottommost placement. It's got extra logs in, some key pieces with root wads are down against the channel substrates or gravel materials, gravels and cobbles. But we also have logs on top for ballast, and they're all locked into streamside vegetation, typically alders and other conifers on the banks. This will keep the logs in place, and the catcher's mitt will work to capture any logs or other debris that comes from upstream during high flow events, is our hope. And so it works to serve as a safety net, in part to protect infrastructure downstream. We should expect to see some scouring locally here, right around the logs, so we'll have the creation of some pool habitats in this area. The logs will also provide some good cover for juvenile coho and other critters that happen to be using that. Proposal Rock Loop Sutton Creek Design Project. It's a mouthful. We have a couple of projects on Sutton Creek, and I distinguish this lower Sutton Creek project from the upper Sutton Creek project, which hopefully will be implemented this upcoming year. The lower Sutton Creek project, which you can see in the bottom portion of the screen here, and I'm going to shift to the next slide, which will show that a little better, focuses right now on culvert number 2082. It's trying to catch up.
Yeah, when we have graphics, for whatever reason, it takes just a little time in the room
Yeah,
for it to catch up, so I apologize for that.
no problem.
We do have printouts here, so for those online, it has already moved. And for those of us at the dais, we have your pictures, so I think.
There we go. Here we go. I'll just manipulate it a little bit. That
There
might
you
help.
go.
That might help. Okay. Culvert number 2082 failed during the flood of November 2021. I spoke to you about this last year. We had secured funding for the design project, and we were able, in the course of about 9 months, to go from 0 to 100% designs, which is a pretty rapid process for what is some pretty detailed work. This was done with a grant from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. The total investment in terms of grants and in-kinds was about $90,000, $91,000. And we had Stillwater Sciences as a consultant. They do restoration work on the Oregon and Northern California coast, but they've branched out to other areas as well. They're highly reputable. Their designs and the work that we did addressed this failed culvert number 2082, which you can see in the bottom right image. During the process of actually failing, this is when floodwaters that have been dammed by the plugged culvert at that Proposal Rock Loop Road crossing overtopped the road, began to downcut through the road surface, and eventually removed the 4 to 5 feet of gravel sitting on top of the 3-foot wide culvert. This is a 3-foot wide culvert on a stream with an active channel width of about 9 feet. So you're trying to cram that 9 feet of water through a 3-foot pipe, and when you have flood conditions, it just becomes totally untenable. That culvert had collapsed. It was later restored partially with a log by a contractor. They reamed the culvert back out, put it back in place, and covered it over with some additional gravels to protect the infrastructure that was exposed with the failure. The crossing is inoperable currently. We've been working with the Proposal Rock Homeowners Association on the design project, and then ultimately looking at some grants that can help us to replace the stream crossing here. We're also folded in culvert number 2083 into the design project so that we can address that one when funding becomes available. It silts in, it doesn't function as well as would be liked, and is often contributing to flooding problems in the neighborhood. That image that you see at the upper left shows some of the extent of flooding in that neighborhood. We had about 24 homes which sustained damage during that flood event, and hopefully we can avoid that in the future. Here you can see the exposed crossing before the gravel was replaced, and you can see a communications and electrical, and it should be the trying to recall if that's the sewer line. That's the water line actually to the right in that upper left image. The lower right image is showing the replaced gravel that is constantly being replenished as we have high flow events there. The Homeowners Association has been reluctant to invest in trying to make that a usable crossing because the gravels keep getting washed away. So they replenish the gravel as needed, but are ultimately looking towards a more durable solution. The project here, in addition to just dealing with the road crossing, it will be an aquatic organism passage type project with a concrete box culvert that I'll show you an image of in the next slide. That'll improve fish passage to the 1.6 miles of aquatic habitat in Sutter Creek that it does offer. There's a terrific beaver wetlands behind that next culvert, number 2083, that provides good rearing habitat for juvenile coho and lots of other organisms as well. We'll have the newly designed box culverts able to pass high flows much better, including the 100-year event. The 100-year event is also impacted by by high tides and storm surge. And so this is a very vulnerable neighborhood. The hope is that the improved crossings here will improve fish passage, but also the resiliency of the neighborhood and the folks who live there, and reduce flood damages in the future. That design project, as I said, was funded by Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're currently seeking funding. We have secured some funding from the Siuslaw National Forest with a grant through its stewardship program. And this is a process that begins with our engagement with the EVO Stewardship Group, which operates in the south part of the county, but sometimes we have some North County folks involved as well, such as Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. We have, as well, some in-kind match by the Proposal Rock Homeowners Association being committed, and we're seeking funding from NOAA, Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Pacific Marine and Estuaries Partnership, and others, whatever it takes. The costs here are actually quite high. Just to replace this bottom culvert, we're looking at a total project cost of about $550,000. $550,000. Trying to wrap my head around the numbers. $500,000. See if this will catch up. I mentioned this concrete box culverts. This is showing the lowermost designs, the designs for the lowermost culvert. It's a trapezoidal configuration given the orientation of the stream channel relative to the road. And here, the concrete box culverts were selected for their better stability in a design size of event. It was found that the bridge option that was being explored in the 30% design process would not be as stable given the uncompacted sediments that underlie most of this area. The concrete box is also better able to pass flood flows, and it's less expensive. So it's a good, durable type solution. It will be able to accommodate utilities. We can route those under and off to the side of the culvert, and we'll have full stream reconstruction through the crossing and up above and below as the stream channel is being regraded to better fit that crossing. Here we have the plan and cross-sectional view showing utility relocations off to the side in the top left image and underneath or below the elevation of the culvert on the bottom right. It'll be exciting to get this built. It'll be a vast improvement over current conditions and historic conditions. Another design project that I mentioned was the Butte Creek Sunbow Drive design project. And this one we've taken to the 60% level. Here you'll see Butte, I don't know if my cursor will show on the screen, it is. Butte Creek Sunbow Drive near the top of the image. This is a 110-foot long corrugated metal pipe that's 6 feet in diameter. It's perched at its outflow, which you can see in the top image there. You'll also be able to see a little light area at the center of that culvert, which is showing you the opposite side, the opposite entry, the inlet, and a puddle of water in the middle, which is indicating that there's a sag in the culvert, which indicates that the road fill on top is causing it to begin to compress and contributing to a risk of collapse at some point in the future. So there are concerns about the long-term and even short-term stability of the culvert. The designs took us through consideration of replacement of the culvert with something like an arch pipe culvert on top of a foundation or a bridge. And the bridge actually turns out to be a less expensive option, given the need to deal with the 30 feet or so of fill on top of that culvert. It's very difficult to utilize the current fill because it's soaked and of suspect materials, and then it's also very expensive to replace it with fill from other sources, and a bridge will negate that problem and provide for an excellent crossing. We took the project to 60% level for designs because that was what the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board grant funding this project provided for. With future funding, we'll look to complete those designs. The 60% should allow us to be more successful in securing grants to complete the design work and ultimately implement the project. Current cost estimate for replacement of the crossing with the bridge is in excess of $1 million. And that's including a contingency escalation of about 10%, which is probably conservative, given what's been happening. So, again, it's perched concrete or metal pipe and beginning to fail. The bridge will be approximately 110 feet long. We reconstruct stream channel through this. And we actually have a town hall meeting next Thursday afternoon at the Kiowanda Community Center, to which residents and property owners in the neighborhood and in the adjoining neighborhood have been invited so that we can present the findings from the work that the consultants did and show them a little bit of the design work and talk about options for moving forward. Waiting for the slide to catch up. Here it is. Our water quality monitoring project has completed a full year of bacteria monitoring, and we have 2 years now of summer water temperature monitoring throughout the Nestucca, Sand Lake, and not the Nesquin for water temperatures, but Nestucca and Sand Lake watersheds. We have approximately 24 sites that we're monitoring for bacteria and also water temperatures. The water temperature data will allow us to identify streams that are providing thermal refugia for salmonids during summer season, also helping us to address potential need for additional stream side planting projects to help provide for some cooling on these tributaries. And the bacteria monitoring helps us to identify streams that are at risk, that pose a risk to the public for water-related recreational contact and consumption of, say, fish and shellfish. We're not sampling down in the bay. We're not sampling in the estuaries. We're just focused on the streams in the Nestucca and Sand Lake and Nesquin watersheds. But it's important information. Our data will be going up on the Telemark Estuaries Partnerships website with their water quality sampling data. It's real-time data, relatively speaking. They just had a website design, and we're able now to begin posting our data to that website. So you can see our sites as well as their sites. We secured a second OWEB monitoring grant to continue this project, which will ultimately provide us with enough data over the period of about 4 to 6 years to conduct a trends analysis and understand what is going on with stream counts and bacterial counts in the basins. Our partners, of course, include Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, which has provided the grant to us, but also the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality with their volunteer water quality sampling program, and Tillamook Estuaries Partnership, which I mentioned already. And we do depend on some volunteers. So volunteers are assisting with the collection of bacteria samples, and they do this once every other week and bring those to our office at the Kiowanda Community Center where we can process those samples. It's a fun project. Here you can see a map which shows our different sample locations. This is taken from our grant application. The ones to the upper right are now, for the most part, dropped from our sampling network because they are already being covered by other agencies, such as Bureau of Land Management. Those are the ones shown in red. We did retain the Powder Creek site, but otherwise, all of these sites are active. The ones in red are temperature sites. We've added a few to this, what you're seeing here, to capture streams that, such as our large wood enhancement streams, where they weren't initially included, but we want to see how temperatures are performing on those streams where we have quite an investment of activity, stream enhancement activity. The blue sites are just bacteria sites, and the ones in purple or lavender are the combined temperature of bacteria. And then we had a number of stream site planting projects that were implemented with the help of a contractor this last year. And that occurs through the winter and spring and seasons in terms of the planting, and then maintenance activity typically in the summertime. We worked with 4 landowners, plant about 8.8 acres of riparian enhancements, and maintain past plantings on numerous other acres. The planting efforts focused on the Nestucca River, main stem, Alder Creek, tributary to 3 rivers. There's a site there that we had, if you recall, put in an aluminum box culvert last year. If you drive past on Highway 22, as you're beginning to get closer to Dalton, about the 7.5 mile mark, you'll see a large space-age looking aluminum culvert off to the left. It's hard to miss in the wintertime especially, and we planted the property there after the project was completed. And then we have some other Nestucca tributaries and the Little Nestucca River, which have received planting attention. And I should say the Nestucca Wildlife Refuge project was completed there. These are important projects. We're using native plants to enhance riparian conditions. They include trees, softwood, hardwood, native shrubs, and we're also controlling invasive non-natives at the same time, and just so that our natives can get established and then be free to grow. For outreach activities, we had both hybrid and in-person type Zoom meetings this last year for board meetings, more in-person events for other outreach types of activities, such as our what we call science pubs, or did call science pubs. Apparently that's been a trademark term.
Oh.
Didn't realize it. We were told this by the folks at Pelican, so we prefer that we don't advertise as science pub, but now we call it science and beer at the pub, which goes directly to the point.
Right.
I think. So we've had good attendance at our events. We resumed those, trying to think, in the spring. And I had a grant from the Hebo Stewardship Group, which assisted with that. Our first event had, outstanding attendance at nearly 70 persons attending, and then we've kind of stabilized around 35 to 40 attendees. But they're fun events. We get the public involved. We had the Kiawanda Beach cleanup, offsetting our every other year bay cleanup this last spring in partnership with Headland Adventures and Solve, Oregon Solve, and had some 56 volunteers come and collect a lot of trash from the beach. We have more active social media these days now with our monitoring and outreach coordinator, Sarah Norman, taking over that activity. She's much more adept with social media than I am, and has been posting regularly and growing our engagement with stakeholders and community members. We held some volunteer activities to help support NORP, the Northwest Oregon Restoration Partnership, that's administered by Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. Our volunteering with them is a fun thing to do, but it also is useful for us because it helps us to secure some discounts on plant materials that we'll use in our riparian planting projects and scale to the number of volunteer hours that we can contribute. But we joined NORC with transplanting early blue violets, which are a primary food source for the silver spot butterfly, this last spring, and then held a seed collection event for pearly everlastings in the dunes at Bob Straub State Park later in the summer, which was really fun. If you didn't know, the pearly everlasting grows throughout the dunes. It's really important native plant for helping to stabilize dunes and reestablish plant communities in new environments. And this is one of the brochures or flyers from our, whoops, we're not seeing it yet. Yep.
I'm seeing it online.
It's online,
You are.
and we have it on paper, so feel free to keep
It's
it.
up here.
Oh, there it
Okay,
goes.
here it comes.
Yeah, just a short.
Yeah, this is one from our annual meeting, so it kind of qualified as a beer and science, but we had no beer, so it was a more true science pub. We held the annual meeting September 15th at the Kiwanis Community Center, had attendance of about 34 community board members, and detailed a work plan, a draft work plan, which has now been finalized by the board and will help to guide our activities over the next several years. And I'll give you a taste of what will come in just about a minute or two. I won't go through the full list of partners here, but and hopefully I didn't miss any. Tillamook County Public Works Department is an important partner, and I actually don't see them listed, and I should have. But we have a host of partners that are really important to the work that we do, and we help them with their projects and activities as well. And it's a really great kind of nonprofit ecosystem here in Tillamook County and in North Oregon. Future projects, this upcoming summer, we hope to complete the Upper Sutton Creek project, which is a project that's been lingering. And we now have a new design team undertaking design work and some draft 60% plans in development and hopefully completed the 60% plans by the end of the year so that we're able to start moving forward and seeing about implementing that project. We'll continue with our water quality monitoring, of course, our riparian planting projects, where we detailed some potential planting projects and trying to get those ready to go. We have an application in review now for another large wood project on Louis Baxter Creeks up near Dolph, and also Horn Creek down near Pacific City. That's been developed. It's a project that's kind of shovel ready, and we're just waiting on word of some funding. We'll also be applying for the private forestry grants for this large wood project and our Sutton Creek project for this upcoming season. And then we're really interested in engaging in a Nestucca Basin Coho Strategic Action Plan with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife and other partners. At some point, this will help us to develop better capacity for understanding the needs for coho recovery in the Nestucca Basin. It'll kind of serve as a framework and blueprint for a number of projects and help us to be more competitive in securing grants for stream restoration throughout the basin. And so that's something that we continue to interact with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife about. Wild Salmon Center, as you probably know, with the Tillamook Estuaries, or I should say the Tillamook Bay Coho Strategic Action Plan. Wild Salmon Center's been involved with a number of efforts throughout the Oregon coast and helps to bring these things to completion. And that's my report, probably a little more detailed than you might have expected, and I hope I didn't take too much of your time. Happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
This is just an outstanding report. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Oh, it's just wonderful. It's so much good work we can all be proud of, and I feel so fortunate that this kind of work is going on in Tillamook County. So thank you for doing this work. And I learned a lot of things in your report, but a couple of them are delightful to me. I didn't know that blue violets are native, and I didn't know that they're a significant food source for silver spot butterflies. I think that's wonderful. I have blue violets that came from my great grandmother's garden, and I had no idea that they were ever native. So that's delightful to me. And when you were talking about earlier in the report, when you were talking about adding the wood to the streams, I was remembering when I moved to Tillamook County, we lived on Testament Creek, and there was a lot of wood in the creek, like you're describing, but it was there naturally, mostly alders that had fallen into the creek in flood events. And I raised my son there, and we spent many hundreds of hours in the creek, playing and exploring and learning about things. And there was in that catcher's mitt that you described in formation, there was one of those naturally, and there was a deep pool with juvenile salmonids, and I have joyful memories of standing in that pool with my son, and there were hundreds, maybe thousands of juvenile salmonids, and they'd swim around our ankles and our feet and nibble on us because they thought we were food. And it was really it was joyful to live there and to be able to see the life cycle of salmon right in our backyard.
Yeah.
See them swim up river and see, we actually saw them spawning. It's one of the best things about living here is the natural environment.
Right.
So thank you for caring for it.
Oh,
we have
yeah.
to have people like you doing this work to care for our environment. So thank you.
It's wonderful that you have that personal connection with the stream and the way it was functioning in a more natural type of condition. We're trying to restore the streams back to that.
Yeah.
We removed a lot of wood from streams historically, and now we find that we have to go out and put it back. And it costs more. We should have left it.
We learn as we go.
Yes.
Yeah, Dave, thanks so much for being here. Great report. For the 7 years that I've been commissioner, you've heard me say this so many times, when it comes to clean water, habitat restoration, and fish recovery, no Oregon county does this better than Tillamook County. It's absolutely the case, but it's because of watershed councils like yourself, Salmon Superhighway, Tillamook Estuaries Partners, Public Works Department, Soil and Water Conservation. We do get so much done in Tillamook County. It's truly remarkable. I appreciate everything you're doing. Your story about taking wood out of the streams, a generation or two ago, it was thought that the wood structures hindered movement of salmonids up and downstream. So we were taking all that wood out, and now it's exactly the opposite. We need to put as much wood as possible in there. That's the habitat for these salmonids, and it's terrific. I do have one question. So I know you're doing a lot of temperature and bacterial monitoring. Does that bacterial monitoring include DNA testing to see where those bacterial levels are coming from?
No, not currently. So we're monitoring for E. coli.
Okay.
And this
Okay.
continues the protocol that's used by Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. It would be informative to include that at some point in time so that we could understand that better. I think, we have multiple sources that can contribute that. Those can be human, they can be animal, including livestock and wildlife. But, for the purpose of water-related recreational and other contact, it's important to know, what those bacterial levels
Agreed.
are.
Agreed. And I know that some DNA testing has been done in Tillamook County. People are expecting to find, excuse my French, cow poo and things like that. And that's normally not the case anymore. It's elk and geese and human waste from septic systems which are failing.
Yes.
So there are so many different problems, and knowing exactly what the problems are on particular streams could be very important as we try to figure out how to mitigate those issues. Salmon Superhighway, your partnership with Salmon Superhighway has been just terrific. It has been. It's one of the reasons, again, that we've gotten so much done in South Tillamook County. And now that we're getting the Tillamook Bay Watershed Council back up and operational, Salmon Superhighway can move with them into Central County. That's an area that they have the authority to work in. So I'm looking forward to a lot of great things happening in Tillamook County. I really am. I noticed your partners list, you did leave off Tillamook County Public Works, but your number one on the list is Tillamook Working Lands and Waters, which
Yes.
is near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
They're an educational group, and the stories that Tillamook Working Lands and Waters tells, along with the tours that we do, is just terrific. It really is.
important.
It really is. So again, thank you for everything you do. Keep doing it. Other commissioners need to take up the mantle and talk about clean water habitat restoration in the country, for Tillamook County. Because it is a story that we need to tell. It is. So again, thank you for being here, Dave.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for telling the story, because in the coming years, we will continue to amplify your voices as one of the ways to
There you go.
continue to tell the story, because it is an important story. And I think you guys have done so much good work, but one of the things you talked about that struck me was the Proposal Rock Loop Sutton Creek Design Project. But talking about how that is such a win-win-win, right? I mean, we talked about how it's important for the neighborhood, it's important for the human beings that are living there, because we're flooding, we're having these issues, they can't drive across it, there are significant problems there. But it's gonna be really good for the fish as well, and upstream creatures, because we're gonna make sure that that stream is working the way that it needs to. And I think one of the things that I really love about Watershed Council work is that it's this interplay between the human beings and the environment in a way that we are really trying to make things better for everybody. We are not doing progress at the cost of our salmon or other, in-water creatures, but we are acknowledging that people are here and we're a part of the environment. How do we make that work together? And really looking at, should it be a bridge? Should it be a culvert? What makes the most sense? And I thought it was also really interesting when you talked about the concrete culvert that would go in there, because seismically, ultimately, that was a better design. So I appreciate the win-win-win focus of the work of the watershed councils that says, we're all in this together, and how to create the best solutions for our human beings and our in-water creatures all at the same time. So thank you for that. I appreciate that perspective and the partnership that we have with all of the different groups that do that work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Scarr. Yes, it's good work, and we can't do it without our partners. They're really critical to have on board. They serve on review teams as we do these design projects and as we scope out potential projects. So the consultants are certainly very important, but the reviewers offer lots of excellent advice to those consultants. And ultimately, we create much better projects as a result.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your report, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again next year, if not before.
Indeed, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best in the holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Okay, we are going to move on to our legislative administrative agenda. And item number 6, slight change in wording, in which it is discussion and consideration of an Oregon Judicial Department Criminal Justice Commission Specialty Court grant application for a Tillamook Family Treatment Court. And we have with us today the Honorable Mari Trevino, Circuit Court Judge. Mari, if you come forward.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank you for having me here.
Good morning, Judge.
So hopefully everybody has the application. The change in wording I think is important, because actually the county has to be the one submitting the grant, not the court. So I was going to bring that up, but I don't need to now. Tillamook Family Treatment Court is a new court that we're doing. It's been up and running for a couple months. It involves sort of a drug court model, for lack of a better term, involving parents in the dependency system, so people whose children either have been removed by DHS or in danger of being removed with substance abuse problems. And the whole model is to meet weekly. We meet as a team first. The team is the CASA, Tillamook Family Counseling, the attorneys, care, and we staff the issues parents are having, and then we meet after that with the parents, so they come in every week. It's informal court. It's the only chance I get as a judge to do like a team approach and cooperative court, which is really refreshing. And this type of court is super successful in letting kids go home safe, not removing kids, and so it's near and dear to my heart. Right now, we're really small. A couple reasons for that is Tillamook Family Counseling has a lot on its plate. Frank Hanna Williams has indicated he can support 2 families, and in the grant, the amount for Tillamook Family Counseling is based on that. It's 2 families, which could be in a traditional, I guess, mom and dad format, it could be maybe 4 people. If we have a family where there's multiple fathers, I guess it could be more than that. But that's what he is able to support, and I promised him I will not expand without his permission. So he was obviously concerned about that. We have had not a much smaller dependency caseload. The last few years, it really went down with COVID, and it's never really come back up. I know a lot of other counties have had an increase in filing because of fentanyl. Most every case I get is fentanyl in the family treatment court. So it could go back up, so we could have more people with Frank's Hanna Williams's agreement. So the total grant that we've asked for is obviously $95,000 and some change. It's due on the 4th. I had originally, Chair Scar is on our steering committee, and historically there has been an administrative fee paid to the county. Well, yesterday when and we put 3% in here, discussing, because I know the county had understandable questions about what is our role, how much time is it going to take, and I had a meeting yesterday with our coordinator to talk to the CJC people about that, and they said that for the first time ever, there may not be administrative fees paid to the county. So I learned that yesterday afternoon at 3. I was like, holy moly, this is brand new to me. You know, it's not impossible to get it, but this is for the first time ever there's a possibility there will not be an administrative fee paid to the county. We can still ask for it, and it was suggested that if somebody from the county reached out to CJC, and I've got a name of a person that coordinator can give you, that expressing on a small county, it's important that they may do it, but it's not a guaranteed thing like it has been in grants in the past. So I'm sorry that was conveyed, but I didn't know until yesterday. I was like, wow. The one thing that we might want to do is fluff, for lack of a better term, the language about why it's important to be able to have an administrative fee, and I'm happy to do that and submit a slightly revised grant explaining why it's important to have a fee. So I'm happy to do that. The county's role would be basically paying Tillamook Family Counseling and yourselves. That's it. And I know obviously the county has process in place with Tillamook Family Counseling, so it wouldn't be inventing the wheel. The things like supplies, training, all that comes through OJD. So the only county function would be paying Tillamook Family Counseling. And it is new to this, where they give you the money up front and then you explain what you did afterwards. Distributed? Advance. That's what it is. It's that kind of a grant. So you get the chunk of money, and then quarterly you have to say how you spent it, which would be paying Tillamook Family Counseling. And then there is a biannual, more of a substance-related report that our coordinator would prepare for your approval. So that would not be like Rachel Haggerty having to do that work. We would prepare that for you. So that would be the county's involvement. So the grant has Tillamook Family Counseling. It has some minor things for supplies like tablets for parents and things like that. Most of our parents have been in inpatient treatment. A lot of times they're in Eastern Oregon or something. They've had difficulty participating, frankly, because so tablets was an important thing. And training, which is a big chunk, It's the All Rise Conference. It's a national conference. The coordinator and I were fortunate to go. It's the best conference I've ever been to in my entire career, frankly, which is a lot.
Yeah.
There are several thousand people there from all over the country. It does drug courts, family treatment courts, mental behavioral health courts, and it's geared to provide something for everyone. So there are breakout sessions for treatment providers. There are sessions for lawyers, sessions for judges, and so it's sort of a multidisciplinary conference. It's all focusing on evidence-based treatment, and it was fabulous. And I would really like to be able to bring our whole team next year, so that would be the CASA, that would be our designated person from Tillamook Family Counseling, our care person. Other counties did bring, like Lincoln County brought their whole team, and I think it was really effective for both team building and for a new court to be able to understand everything that's going on. So it is a big part of the budget, but it's not just like a fluff trip. Let's see. I am happy to answer any questions. Christopher Hamilton, our CCA, is here in case you had questions. None of this grant pays us anything. It's nothing to either support any of our employees or any of it's all for outside. So, I'm going to clarify that. I don't know if anyone has questions or.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. Questions or comments?
from Judge.
I'm really excited about this program.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're doing this, and I appreciate that you're offering to do this. You're prepared to do this for no compensation for the circuit court, which is very generous. I know it'll take a bunch of time. I think it's. I'm not worried about the administrative fee, although I would prefer that they paid it. But I don't think it's a. I think we should ask for it and see what happens. I loved that you just said about that this is the only opportunity in your job to take a team approach to helping people change their lives, and I fully support that and think it's so powerful. It's such a powerful model because you said most of the people who come through have some relationship with fentanyl, some association with fentanyl, and it's in everybody's interest in our community for those folks to get treatment and get back on track and keep their families intact and get better and get on with their lives. And so it's I just think this is really exciting, and I'm glad you're willing to do it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm super excited. Like I said, it's the best part of my job. It's Friday afternoon. To be able to go home without, I'm feeling bad for kids, which is what I do a lot of the time. Instead, I'm like empowering families. It's actually super, super gratifying.
Thanks.
I don't know, any other questions?
Just Trevina, your outstanding advocacy for children and families in this county is terrific. I for one appreciate what you do very much. I know it's not easy. It's that we deal with some very difficult situations at times. Your Honor, thinking outside of, I remember when I first started as commissioner 7 years ago, we did not have much in the way of specialty courts. This outside the box thinking for specialty courts, and we've added quite a few specialty courts now over the years. To me, this is a great way to address these problems, because in a standard courtroom, it's very difficult to deal with children and families and things of that nature. So this outside the box thinking, I think, is just terrific, and full support here. Anything else the county can do for you? I won't be here starting next month, but I'm sure this board
anything you need.
and with Doug sitting behind you, I know these are the types of things that this county really needs to be involved with. So I appreciate so much everything you're doing in that respect. Please keep doing what you're doing.
It is out of all the things I do, it is the thing that matters most to me, is helping children and families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. You and I obviously have talked about this quite a bit, and I am in full support. I think that the behavioral health court has been really beneficial in Tillamook County, and I look forward to the family treatment court being similarly beneficial. There is such a need for support services for those who find themselves in these situations. we can arrest them, require them to do treatment or do time, but if we just then say, good luck, go forth and do the best you can, the chances of them being successful are very slim. So when we transition to a court system that says, I really want to understand why you are where you are and I want to help you not be there again, that's a game changer, it's a life changer, it's a community changer. So thank you for being willing to put that effort in to create something entirely new in our community about how we are helping families. It is something that definitely is a heart warmer. I mean, this is what we want to do. So I think that the county would, as Commissioner Bell stated, love to have our administrative fee because we will be writing checks, we will be tracking the finances. There is a piece for us. It's not without work on our part. However, I don't believe that's a game changer either. If the state says, sorry, this is another thing that we're not going to pay counties to do, I think in this case, writing checks to Tillman Family Counseling to, make sure that they get reimbursed for their costs is something that we can manage.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. With your permission, I would then write some additional language in there about how the administrative fee is important and submit it to Ms. Haggerty. Is that how I would do that? Okay. And hopefully that would give some support. And then Commissioner or Sheriff Scar, I could have my coordinator give you the name of the person that we were encouraged to have you reach out to and how administrative fees are important for small counties.
No, I would be happy to do that with work together. So,
thank you very much.
okay, thank you. I think we're ready for a motion because I believe we need one for this submittal of threat.
Madam Chair, let me see if I can get this right. In consideration of an Oregon Judicial Department Criminal Justice Commission Specialty Court Grant application for a Tillamook Family Treatment Court, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us in person.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, discussion and consideration of a fourth amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2023-2025 Intergovernmental Agreement number 180028 for the financing of public health services. Marlene Putnam, Administrator, Health and Human Services. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. So we are on to our fourth amendment, Oregon Health Authority Agreement. You'll know in the summary that you have, this is a modification or amendment to add funds to our budget. So I'm going to just provide a summary and we can go into more detail if you would like pertaining to these items. So in summary, you'll see that this revises our agreement in the counties with Oregon Health Authority relating to the financial assistance award. So that's the item that's attachment A, has all the numbers on there, page 3 and 4 of 9. There are 6 program elements that are revised to add funding, which totals, let's see, $601,390.15. Much of this funding relates to the additional funds that the Oregon Health Authority received and thus local public health authorities to address COVID-19. And, well, with the exception of our tobacco prevention and education program, PE13. So of these 6 program elements, these funds are rollover funds that have not been spent during the first year of the biennium. So you'll see amendments when we receive them, you have to spend year 1, or then you have to receive an amendment if they weren't all expended in year 1. So each one of these items are rollover items. There are varying expenditure deadlines, with 5 of these required to be expended no later than July of 2024. So that's a big chunk. The detail of the deadlines is on attachment B. There's a couple pages of that, but you can look at each one of those elements and see there's one even that is required to be expended by the end of January of 2024. So that's $56,000 approximately. So I'm working with our staff team to make sure we're on top of these expenditures, working with our finance and with HR to make sure we've got staff for positions where we can. So our goal is to expend those funds that are allocated by the deadlines. There's one exception of PE 5105, CDC Public Health Infrastructure and Training, which is the last item on there. That does not have to be expended until 2027. And it's a big chunk of the funds here, 188,910. So we're keeping track of all of these with our allocation of funds and trying to recognize we're not going to have these coming into the next biennium. So being careful not to get too many staff that are hired on, but to keep on the tasks that we need to for both compliance, to meet community needs, and to anticipate any future communicable disease response. I can review each one of the funding sources if you want and the description, but this is the summary. I thought that would give you a place to start. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Marlene. Are there questions or comments? I do not have questions.
No questions. I'm pleased that you're increasing your budget by that much money, and I know the money will be well spent. The timelines, I know you're going to keep perfect track of all the timelines to make sure that things go as anticipated. That's what you do every day in and day out, Marlene. I'm absolutely impressed. And you mentioned in the beginning, this is the Fourth Amendment. It's the end of November. That's not bad, actually, for the Fourth Amendment. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm in full support.
Perfect, as am I. These are the constant sort of machinations of working with state money. So if it doesn't get spent, rather than being able to say, just go ahead and spend it, they have to say, wait, let me do an amendment. Let's make sure the contract is all where it needs to be. So I appreciate that, and I do appreciate the fact and the difficulty that we've had in expending some of these funds due to the difficulty in hiring staff and the pieces that have just been part of the environment since COVID happened. And I know that you've done an exceptional amount of work to find alternate solutions. So if it can't be spent on a staff person, is there a contract can do the work that needs to be done? Is there another expenditure that's qualifying that will equally benefit our community that allows us to utilize the funds? So thank you for your continued creativity in all of that work, because I know there's a lot in there that is required to make sure our community benefits from the funds that are available. So I think we are ready for a motion.
Ready for a motion. Madam Chair, in consideration of a Fourth Amendment to Oregon Health Authority 2023-2025 Intergovernmental Agreement number 180028 for the financing of public health services, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 8, discussion and consideration of Amendment 2 to grant number 15688 with the State of Oregon Department of Education for Juvenile Crime Prevention. We have Matthew Fennell, Director of the Juvenile Department. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Commissioners. What you got in front of you is an amendment to an existing contract we have with the Department of Education. Usually what they do is a brand new contract for a brand new biennium, but for reasons that are not clear to me, they've just decided to amend the existing contract, and that's why the dollar amount could be a little bit misleading. That is not the biennial dollar amount. That is a combined dollar amount for 21-23 and 21-25. Wow. The $63,000 that's struck through is gone, and I think I think there's an accounting reason on the other end that they did that. So I did have a phone call with somebody at ODE about that, and they told me that they were going to update it and send it over that way. So we do not have $133,000 for the next year and a half now. Anyway, so this is a biennial pass-through grant. These are reimbursement grants that we write a plan for, submit, and then we request reimbursement based upon expenses that are incurred. And it's just a 2-page document. It's fairly straightforward, and I put it before you for consideration and approval.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
No, thank you.
So Bill, I take it you've looked at this amendment and you're good with it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the explanation of the dollars. I was thinking it was a good thing. Look at that.
And
So
I
now know.
can't go in just to refresh people's memory about what the juvenile crime prevention dollars are and what they're used for and how they're split up, because this is just one piece of the juvenile crime prevention dollars. There's two granting agencies that they're passed through. One of them is Department of Education and the other is the Oregon Youth Authority. And months back, I had the basic and diversion dollars contract in front of the board, which was approved. So this is the other piece of that funding that's passed through to the counties. So these are non-competitive grants. These are legislative pass-through dollars. So.
And what do you use them for? What do they get used for?
So this piece of the funding we use to fund part of a position. One of our staff is bilingual, biliterate, bicultural. She provides translation services both in communications with families, and she also translates documents for us. We would be in a lot of trouble without her. And we also pay for some classes, some online classes that we sign kids up for low-level interventions. And we also do, occasionally, we buy fuel cards and stuff like that for transportation assistance. So the biggest chunk of the bigger chunk of the money comes in through Oregon Youth Authority. So this is $70,000 for the current biennium.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that for us to remember and for those watching and listening. Okay, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of Amendment 2 to grant number 15688 with the State of Oregon Department of Education for juvenile crime prevention, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Before Matt gets away, we're going to do item number 9, discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with Marion County for juvenile detention services.
Well, again, Commissioners, what you've got in front of you is a contract renewal that we've had a contract with Marion County, I think, for the last couple of years or so. This is a renewal for 5 years. The previous contract was 2 years. This is purely a backup in case of emergency detention resource that we're keeping in our back pocket. Our primary partner for detention services is Yamhill County. The board recently approved a guaranteed space contract with them, which is going really well. And usually we're pretty good at managing our detention population. And this is, like I said, this is purely this is what I like to call break glass in case of emergency contract. We've never put a kid in detention in Marion County. We've never needed to. And I hope I
Just say that out loud.
Well, I did.
Sorry.
The thing is we did bump up I didn't realize this last time, but I took notice of it this time. Marion County puts a dollar amount cap on their contracts, and I didn't. And since this is 5 years, $5,000 over 5 years seemed a little low, so we bumped it up to $16,000. And I think that's based on I don't remember how many days that is, but hopefully we don't need to use it. It's just there in case.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
How often do we have 2 youth in custody at the same time?
It's very feast or famine. I remember last time I had the Yamhill County space available contract up for approval. I think our average daily population from early 2020 until September of 2023 was 1.19 kids. So it's not, if we have 2 kids in custody at the same time, we try to make that as little time as possible. It does happen though. The nice thing that Yamhill is doing, if we need to overuse our guaranteed space, they are charging us a lower daily rate than what the daily rate is in the guaranteed space piece
So
of the contract.
we can have more than one bed at Yamhill if it's available?
We can. And we're still working on a regional MOU type situation to where if one county doesn't have anybody in and another county needs to go over their allotted space, then we can just use that at no additional cost. I don't know that we've looped Yamhill County in on that discussion. I don't know what they're going to say, but that's an ongoing discussion. I'm hoping something comes of it. It is a good idea. Happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
What they don't know won't hurt them.
What's that?
What they don't know won't hurt them.
Yeah.
We're good. Thank you for what you do, Matt.
Sure.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Matt. I think I appreciate this is a break glass in case of emergency contract. We hope we never have that emergency.
Yeah.
But we need to be prepared because we have responsibilities.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with Marion County for juvenile detention services, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 10, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of the reappointment of members to the County Road Advisory Committee. Chris Lady, Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So the Tillamook County Roadway Advisory Committee, also known as CRAC, C-R-A-C, was founded in 1991. The committee advises and recommends policies to the Tillamook Board of Commissioners. It also assists the Public Works Department Director through setting priorities, establishing short and long-term planning, reviewing budgets, and addressing revenue issues. They also advise and review requests for local access road improvements. So this is a 9-member committee. Ideally, we are supposed to have 3 members that represent North County, 3 representatives that represent South County, and 3 for Central County. There are only 2 officers that are associated with that, a chair and a vice chair. So with that, we have 3 members that have agreed to continue on. Kurt Schronrud, who is our current chair, Gary Handicraft, and Ann Price. All 3 are qualified, and we recommend that they be reappointed as members to the CRAC.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I'd just like to say that I'm grateful to Kurt and Gary. I think they've both been on the CRAC for a long time, and grateful to Ann, who's maybe the newest member or among the newest members. And it's important work. It's important that citizens have a avenue to talk about their road concerns, and that all citizen road concerns throughout the county don't end up on Chris's desk. And so citizens are hearing from other citizens about what they think is needed, what they think is important, and then that body talks about it carefully and thoroughly. And so I think it's a great system, and I appreciate the intent of it, and I appreciate the work of the people who serve on it.
Okay, thank you.
And I would concur with that. I just wish you'd find another acronym for County Roads Advisory Committee. Be that as it may, I love your background. I know that's going to be one of your most favored backgrounds now. That's such a terrific new highway for Tillamook County. Have you had to close it yet at all because of ice in the mornings?
No, we have brought our de-icer over the top of that.
Oh, okay.
The very first, we did not get the de-icer up the very first morning through this cold snap. I think that one caught ODOT and ourselves a little by surprise with that one. We did have de-icers on it since then.
Okay.
It does not get the traffic that obviously Highway 6 and others receive,
Right.
but we have been putting de-icer on it. Hopefully we won't close it.
I gotta say, it's a beautiful road. Keep it up. And I'm sorry to take that little detour, but.
That's all right. That's all right. No, I appreciate our volunteers as well. Chris, how long is the term for someone? We're reappointing them, or do they go in 3-year terms, or?
They're 3-year terms. The chair rotates on, the chair is voted on annually, but it's a 3-year term. They also meet monthly, or near monthly. During the summer, we don't typically meet because construction is going on. It's a 3-year term.
Perfect. Thank you. Just curious. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of the reappointment of members to the County Road Advisory Committee, this being Board Order number 23-073, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And I think that's the most famous picture of the internet right now. I
Oh,
can't
is it?
tell you
Yeah.
how many people posted, just went over Cape Mears, and then it was, you've got the Pioneer, and you got Coin 6 had that photo the
Wow.
other day. So, I mean, I just keep seeing that particular photo pop up. So, most famous on the internet.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Moving on to item number 11, discussion and consideration of a John Hildred Jr. Foundation grant for juvenile digital materials at the Tillamook County Library. Don Elgar. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I am pleased to bring before you a request for approval to seek funds from the Dorothy Louise Kyler Fund. It's part of the John Henry Eldridge Jr. Foundation. And that fund was created to help grow children's circulation in rural libraries across the United States. As you know, we are now seeking to increase the availability of ebooks and digital audiobooks, basically our digital reading materials. And this is a great opportunity to really bump up the number of materials that we own as a library system and as a county to have as a base for use amongst children in the community. This would provide us hopefully with $2,500, which would go towards creating a larger library of juvenile materials. So really excited about this opportunity and glad to answer any questions you might have about it. It is a fairly straightforward grant because it's coming from a foundation, so there's just the only real requirement afterwards is to put together a report and talk about this, how it affected circulation for children, because that's what they're really aiming to increase.
Perfect, thank you. Are there questions or comments, commissioners?
I fully support this. I think it's a good opportunity, and it would be great if we get it, so thank you.
I agree. It's a brand new grant opportunity for the Tillamook County Library System, and I'm hoping you're going to be successful. I'll bet you will be successful. Don, again, I appreciate everything you're doing at the library. You're doing great work out there. Just keep it up.
Thank you.
And I agree as well. So we can always benefit by extending what we have available in our circulation. So thank you for finding grants to do that.
Thank you.
Motion.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, consideration of a John Heldridge Jr. Foundation grant for juvenile digital materials at the Tillamook County Library. I would move approval.
My second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12, discussion and consideration of modification number 1 to professional services agreement number 6054 with Northwest Code Professionals for building inspection and plan review services. Sarah Absher, Director, Department of Community Development. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Before you today is your request for a signature to renew an existing contract with Northwest Code Professionals. As we continue to experience high inspection volumes and need for contracting with third-party inspectors on occasion, we would like to request that this contract be signed so that we can keep Northwest Code Pros on call for services as needed to keep our construction projects going in Tillamook County.
Perfect. Thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I'm wondering, Sarah, just curious, how much we're using them? Are we using them as backup now? Are we more transitioning to our own staffs? So tell me how that works.
That's a great question, Commissioner Bell. Thank you. So currently, Northwest Code Professionals is only used as an on-call as-needed basis. So if we have specifically our electrical inspector, if time off is needed, personal time off for various things, or if we know we have high volumes coming in, we work with them to get that backup and that coverage when it's needed so that we can minimize delays in services. They are not doing any plan reviews for us at this time, nor offering any other services. But as you know, things can change very quickly. And in looking at the contract, there is quite a breadth of services that they can provide. But the key is that they will all remain on call so that if we need them, they're there. But with our department continuing to work towards being fully staffed and the in-house training we're doing, we're only working them as we need to.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense and confirms what I thought that we were moving toward having all of that stuff done in-house. So this makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, thanks for being with us. Thanks for everything you do. Having Northwest Code Pros as a backup is terrific. I continue to be amazed at the number of projects that continue to be done in Tillamook County. I mean, it's just, with interest rates the way they are, housing market slowing down, things are still very busy at community development. And I appreciate everything you're doing, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
I agree. This is an important contract for us to have because our building industry is very important, and we can't stop if someone becomes ill in our department. And we are we have one of each. When we get to our inspectors and our building official and all of those pieces, we have one of each. So we just really have to be prepared that if something were to happen or change, that we can continue and that we don't stop business in Tillamook County. So I appreciate having this as a backup. I'm also very excited that it is only a backup at this point, that we have gotten ourselves staffed and trained and able to really do things in-house, which I know is what we heard from our builders when we were not at that position, how important it was to be able to really have local people that they could get to know and could work with. And I'm excited that we're there and that this is just a backup. So thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. I know a lot of that's been hard work on your end to get people into the right seats and trained and doing what they do. So
Thank you.
all right, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of modification number 1 to professional services agreement number 6054 with Northwest Code Professionals for building inspection and plan review services, I would move approval.
A second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. As we discussed at the beginning of the meeting, we are postponing number 13. Moving on to 14, discussion and consideration of an application for a State of Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority grant for the Shiloh Levee Rehabilitation Project. Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As you know, the Shiloh Levee was constructed by the county in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. It is 71 years old, 1,200 feet long, and it is along the Wilson River, just north of the Wilson River Bridge on Highway 101. It is in dire need of repair. It has been on our list for quite some time for repair. The estimate is $4.3 million. It will effectively replace a lot of riprap that is undermining and starting to compromise the structure's stability during flood events. So I've presented to you several documents for consideration. There's a lot of paperwork between different levels of grant applications and then the subsequent contracts. We have secured $1.26 million through Senate Bill 5506 that came through the legislature last year, thanks to Senator Weber and Representative Javity. You signed that contract on October 25th. Before you today is consideration of the contract that we are securing $400,000 through the state's Special Public Works Fund. We're hoping that we will get funding in 2 parts. This part in the amount of $400,000, and then the balance in spring of 25 after there's a state bond sale. All of that funding should complete all of the funds needed to rehabilitate the levee. With this $400,000 secured and the funding secured through Senate Bill 5506, we're confident to proceed with moving forward with engineering. And so Director Lady will be preparing an RFP that hopefully goes out in the next month or 2. So we can secure the services of a consultant to begin that work, the design work along with permitting. And then we'll continue to finalize our funding strategy and secure those funds. We also still have backup funds with Merkley White's office in the amount of $1.5 million. Worst case, Business Oregon is telling us that we can have a 0% loan over a term yet to be negotiated. So we're confident that we can proceed, and we have backup plans if needed, but we all know we need to get the Shiloh Levee repaired. So today before you is a financing contract with Business Oregon in the amount of $400,000 ready for consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I think this is thrilling. I was thinking when you were talking about the projects that had been waiting for years and years and years, the Shiloh Levee and the North Jetty and the South Jetty, and how exciting it is to see these things actually coming to fruition. And for folks who are listening who might not know, the Shiloh Training Levy protects North Tillamook County, or rather North Tillamook, not North Tillamook County, the north part of 101, the businesses there, the homes, the farms, the historic Wilson Bridge, and it is eroding, it is deteriorating, and so every flood we have, we're at risk, and so I'm thrilled that this is moving forward, and thank you for your diligent work to find the funding to do this. I'm grateful for your work.
I agree, Rachel, this stuff wouldn't happen without you, and this is terrific. This has been on our federal priorities list for long before I became commissioner. But it's amazing how the top 2 or 3, we've just finally, we've really just picked them off. And it's great, and again, this was different than federal funding. Yes, we did get some federal funding, but the state of Oregon stepped up and all, and so there's multiple pieces to this, all being brought together. Interesting, you say that, and I didn't realize this, the Shiloh levy is 71 years old, $4.some million rehab. So next year, when I turn 71, I guess I'm going to be needing some rehab. I hope it doesn't cost $4.some million. But this is a great success story. It just took a long time, like all of these projects, which cost a lot of money to do. So again, because of your diligence on all this moving forward, and we're finally getting it done. So thank you so much.
Agreed. This has been a long time coming, and the Tillamook Bay Flood Improvement District has been waving this red flag for many, many years, and we've just not had the resources and ability to move forward. We have, our list of priorities, of which the South Jetty was at the top for a very long time. With that being funded, this became the top priority, and with partnership at both the state and federal levels and a lot of hard work by Rachel, we're able to secure some funding and move this forward. So it is a very exciting day. Bill, I bet you have some historical perspective.
When you mentioned his age, it made me think of mine. But I remember the commissioners when they were dealing with the 96 flood and the Josie levy went out. I can't imagine what something similar would do if that levy broke. I mean, we're just talking basically farmland below Josie's, but it was, maybe you all remember too, it was like incredible. So with all the infrastructure there, it would be really bad if that thing broke loose. So, anyway.
It really would. Yeah, and yet repairing it is this whole thing where you actually have to move the flow of the river to dry it out in order to make the repair. So if someone's sitting there thinking 4 point what, you actually have to blockade the water in the Wilson River and create a dry area on that river bank in order to make the repairs. So it's no small task. I'm hoping that whatever would happen to you at 71, hopefully, wouldn't be akin to moving the Wilson River, but, anything can happen.
We hope not. Perfect.
Okay.
And it's always good to get these things fixed before they fail. It is.
Oh, 100%. If we can get ahead of it, that's so much better. The failure and the cost of that failure, and again, I know the Tillamook Bay Flood Improvement District has detailed those for us many times to let us know what the cost would be to business, to individuals, to industry, everything. And of course, the shutting down of Highway 101 through that region, pushing all traffic onto Wilson River Loop. I mean, you think through the impacts, and they are very significant. So, all right, well, let's approve this and get the money in hand.
You're done. Madam Chair, in consideration of an application for a State of Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority grant for the Shiloh Levee Rehabilitation Project, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, item number 15, discussion and consideration of Task Order 3 to Agreement 1141076 with Portland State University for the Situation Assessment Project. Rachel Haggerty.
It's a horrible title.
It is.
It's pulled right off of PSU's contract. So since April, the Tillamook County leadership team has been working with Portland State University in the development of the county's countywide strategic plan. We have completed a preliminary analysis where PSU came in on a fact-finding mission to scope how the county was functioning and tried to identify a path forward for the strategic plan. So they didn't just dive into a strategic plan, they wanted to know more about us before they developed the scope of work for the plan. So it was a plan to plan, which is always a little weird to say, but it was necessary. So that's been completed, and then continuing to work with the leadership team, we've just completed the situation assessment, which digs in more to what some of our issues are, and started identifying maybe ways that we could start exploring them and reaching some solutions to those. The next step, which is before you today for consideration, we have an umbrella intergovernmental agreement with PSU that we've been implementing in steps through task orders. This is task order 3. It does say situation assessment, but it's kind of, we've largely completed that, but the next step of that is the vision, mission, values, and focus areas of the situation assessment. So that's what we're going to be focusing on next. There's a subset of the leadership team that will be working with PSU on the vision, mission, values, and focus areas step of this, and that is where we are. So it's ready for consideration, and they have an ambitious timeline to start working on.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments?
No, glad to be moving forward.
Yeah, this is a big project, it is. And there have been some ups and downs moving forward, but I am confident this is going to turn out to be a terrific plan for us moving forward. No, excuse me, for you moving forward.
Yeah, happy to commit us to things.
Absolutely. But yeah, the situation assessment doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what PSU calls it. So whatever they call it, I am in full support.
Perfect, as am I. PSU has done this with a number of government bodies, and so that is one of the reasons that we've been working with them, and I think they have a process that's proven. So happy to be moving forward as well.
I do have a few comments, actually. I'm thinking if people are watching, you may be wondering, well, you know, what do we need to do with the mission, vision, values? The Tillamook County, of course, has a mission. I'd be willing to bet no one in this room or in this building has it memorized because it's long and cumbersome. I think we just need to update our mission and come to agreement, because the mission should reflect the values of the leadership team, the shared values. So I think we need to update our mission and add to that vision and values. What are the values, the shared values that drive us? And so then in the strategic planning process, then when we're developing a strategic plan, everything that happens in it should be reflected in our mission, vision, and values. And we can use it as a touchstone, as a lens to check the work and say, is this part of our mission? Is this part of our values? Is this, or is it outside? You know, because there may be some things we want to do that aren't actually part of our mission. There may be things we can't afford to do that aren't actually part of our mission, etc. So it becomes a lens and a framing document for how we move the work forward. And so in that way, it's foundational. So ultimately, at the end, you know, we end up with a strategic plan that's a working document. But it foundationally, we have to know what it is that we agree to as values to move the work forward. So I just want to share with people who might be listening and wondering that's why this piece is important.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great context for everyone. I think the other piece is that, you know, we do every few years with the Futures Council a process with the community so that we can get input on what they would like to see in our future, and we are using that work as part of what we do. So while this iteration, we're talking about leadership team and we're talking about county staff, I think what's important for people to know is that the two are being blended. We're looking at what the community wants from their county and their government, as well as what we know we are going to need to do, and how our leadership can put their voices in with that. And there will be additional input from the community in the future. So right now this piece is happening here with our staff and potentially some input in Futures Council staff as well, but there will be more community outreach as well. So it is a process that will take us a few months at the minimum to get through the process. So.
Well said, both of you.
Okay,
Ready for a motion?
Ready for a motion.
Madam Chairman, consideration of task order 3 to agreement 1141076 with Portland State University for the Situation Assessment Project. I would move approval.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any board concerns today?
No.
I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the board announcements because we will be recessing this meeting to go into an executive session. So,
I
let me,
thought that was at noon.
it's technically a continuation of this meeting. It is at noon. We have to wait for the other folks we need to join us. Okay, so the commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, November 29th at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979#. The Board of Commissioners / Parks Advisory Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 at 12 p.m. has been canceled. The Commissioners will attend the Forest Trust Land Advisory Committee meeting on Friday, December 8th, 2023 at 10 a.m. at the Oregon Department of Forestry Headquarters, Santiam Room, Salem, Oregon. Bill, would you like to give us the executive session?
Yes, I'll do that, 196.62L.
Thank you. This meeting is recessed at 10:35 a.m.